about the additional work that you've done to the Stinson?
It doesn't look like a lot. In fact, I'm usually working on a multitude of different tasks or airplanes. So it's on again, off again. What I've really done with it, and the left side is almost finished with getting everything anchored, and actually, for the first time yesterday, parts actually screwed and countersunk into place. The window frames, the door frames. And what that does is it locks everything. This side is almost finished. I'm working on the overhead where there's a partial overhead glass, so you can look out through the top of the windshield. Fitting for where the windows go up and down is a lot of work. You don't get things the way they were when they came apart. Even though the airplane was flying, when we bought it, we flew it for a year and a half. It was getting kind of creaky, like we do as we get older, and they need attention. Putting things back together, it's kind of a trial and error thing. You do the woodwork, then you purchase new material like this, which is the track for the window. This is automotive plate glass, and it's like what you have in your car. But this is the track that these rollers get engaged to right here. So this right now is in the up position. So this window would be in this position here. And with cranking the window down, it comes down into this position here. These are all the old, it's like the stuff in the old cars, like the Model A's. It's a channel that the window, you can see it's got a crank. In fact, they're Ford Model A window cranks that raise and lower the glass window for the pilots. These are the guides with this U-channel, which, when it's in place, keep the window, parallel to everything and allow it to go up and down straight. And when it comes up, it meets this piece here, and with the guide all the way around, it creates a weather and windproof seal, sort of. It's a 1931 airplane, so you can't expect too much. This is actually what the door hinge will get screwed to. So the door will hinge. We talked about this last time you were here, but we're a little bit farther along. This piece has been added, and you can see to get the screws in, which already are installed on the left side, there's little tabs that are welded, but to get the nut on, which is, you have to have little tiny fingers or a pair of small needle nose pliers, you hold the nut there, put the screw in there, and this strip is what attaches the sheet metal, but also anchors the guide for the window to go up and down. So it's a multi-purpose piece of wood. It's an important piece. This piece here, which I explained earlier, supports the sheet metal, but it also supports this track for the window, which goes on here. This piece of wood will be shaved down or sanded down, and this wood here will all have a slight radius to it, like this, because this is all covered with sheet metal. Okay, this piece comes off, and if you'll notice, it's got a tab at the top, which is notched out, okay? Well, Then this is what I mean by a little jigsaw puzzle. And this piece, which has all these weird little shapes, comes in here. Okay. We have this piece, which fits in here. And then this piece, with that same kind of notch that this top of this one has, goes in like that. So it's basically like building a cabinet. These are actually little corner gussets for the door jamb,
Okay.
which the door is going to be hung off with that hinge I showed you earlier. Well, the original airplane didn't have these. And what happened here, what happens when they put the sheet metal on, they drill a hole into this wood, or the bigger, this piece here. And old airplanes tend to shake and vibrate. Screws fall out. What do? They put a bigger screw in, okay? What happens is airplanes parked outside for a few nights, so the water gets into the holes. It splits the wood, it rots the wood. So by putting these on, they're very similar to what I put on the backside. It really, and these will get glued to the tube once this is on for good. And they're all cut out and notched the shape of the tube, and then they have to fit in the width of the board. And these are pieces that I came up with, designed, just so it gives us some integrity other than relying on just these metal tabs. Because what happens with a countersunk screw, the wood tends to, after a while, either shrink, and this gets wrapped with fabric too. Things, like I said, shake and vibrate, holes get elongated, which are oversized, which isn't good. So I come up with the idea of adding in between these tabs a little bit of a bridge. And that's all it does, it's a bridge. And it gets bonded to the tube with the new glues that we have, and gives this a little more torsional. It won't do that, even with the screws in here. Between the two screws, this can still walk around when you have a 30-pound door hanging off the hinge. This is what came off. And these notches that are here, I've created with the spindle sander. If you look at these, they look like a beaver took care of these. Well, anything that has a sharp edge on an airplane has a tendency to crack. So with a radius, you won't get a crack. So what I can do now, because this is going to get a screw, this is going to get a screw, wherever there's a metal tab and it anchors at, I can get in there with my little pliers and hold the nut and tighten the screw. If you go over to the other side, this one's finished, the screws are all in place. This board is ready to get contoured at the bottom. It's not glued in place yet because I really won't do that until I have all the channels for the window track to go up and down now, which is, this is the old stuff. But it's just one of those little restoration things that it developed over 48 years. So, well, and you can see I got in there with my little trusty bent things, held the nut, and I tightened the screw, and you know, it doesn't ruin the integrity of the wood. You know, you look at the piece, this is off the right side, but the left side is identical. You know, it's just a hack job. Going back to what's next after the woodwork's done, it goes off for sandblasting in either epoxy painting or powder coating. Comes back, all the woodwork is varnished because everything is glued in place that can be glued up, taken off while the airplane's gone. It's varnished or epoxy varnished. The fuselage comes back. We put everything back on it that we actually, whatever we can, whatever we've made, whatever we've overhauled. and do what we call a fit out for hydraulic lines, fuel lines, and all the flight control cables and push-pull tubes. And then cover the fuselage with fabric and tape it and put many layers of dope and sanding, and your fingertips end up bleeding with what we usually do with a finish.
And then what do you do with it?
Hopefully the wings are being done at the same time. Then the engine gets installed, the landing gear, and we hopefully push it out the hangar there on a good day and have the nerve to go out and fly it.